Do you have a drink?
You know what I have? Because I'm 53 years old, Craig, I have a bowl of Fiber One.
Oh. That might be our intro right there.
Yeah. Hey, everybody. Welcome to episode 5 of Curling Nation, a casual yet informative look at curling. This episode called Nobody Likes Dean. I'm Joel. Joining us as always is Craig, Mike, Garret, and Ty. And friend of the show, Dylan, stops by. Today we're going to talk about a bubble that's happening in Calgary for Canada and World Curling. Dean Gemmell joins us on the show to talk about his interesting curling career that he's had. He's been around quite a bit. We want to thank Great Dane for providing us with some really great beer. This episode we got the Scotch Ale, which is fantastic. One of my favorite Scotch ales. But first we have updates around the U.S. Mike?
All right, so I did a little homework and called in some favors. I got a little bit of a nationwide update from some curling clubs around the nation. Give some people some props. I'll talk to Abbas in Georgia, in Atlanta, the ATL, Hotlanta, if you will. They have some designated nights for pickup curling and some learn to curls, but no league play this season so far. They're hoping for some league play in 2021. Sad news way out west from my buddy Matt, my elementary school buddy Matt Dolph. Granite is closing it up for the year. No curling in Seattle. So they are not curling this year at all. They made that decision, he said, just a couple days ago.
Were they open at all?
No, they didn't have ice in yet.
Mm-hmm.
Patrick McDonald in
You
Pahonix.
went to elementary school with him?
With Matt Dolph? Yes. Yeah. Good dude. Used to work for NASA, like actual rocket scientist. Wicked smart.
Matt.
Yeah, he's a good dude. Patrick McDonald in Pahonix, Phoenix, said they have ice and had some play, but they have taken time off recently. And then he thought they were reevaluating soon whether they would have curling again. So that's Phoenix. I also talked to Liza out in Hollywood. I was mistaken. I thought their building was a lot farther along. They don't even have their building yet. So they didn't have anything, but they wouldn't have had anything anyway. They have a shelter in place order again in LA County. I was like, well, that's gross. And she was like, yeah, it's not ideal.
Yeah, they can't even go outside unless you're walking a dog.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about some of their rules, and she's like, they're kind of dumb, but kind of good at the same time. It's whatever. I mean, it's like all the stay-at-home stuff. Anyway, but she said that she and Matt, I assume Gamboa, could come on the show sometime and talk about what's going on out there. So hopefully we'll have them on soon. I talked.
Matt's got a new baby. That's what's going on out there.
Matt does? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, moving a little further east, I talked to Lance Wheeler and Claire Moores in Denver. They shut down fall leagues. He said they just shut down fall leagues because they're in the red level. So, but they still can have practice because they can have recreation sports limits to 10 people. So they can practice, but no leagues or anything. But they're hoping to get back to league play before the end of the year. Claire said she had her fingers, eyes, and arms crossed. I was like, good luck with that. So
uncross them before you throw.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And then back out east, Harley Rohrbacher in Pittsburgh said they don't have leagues, but they have a couple of nights with pickup curling. And if you call ahead and talk to the draw master, they can have curling. And they're going to continue that until the county shuts them down or changes the rules or whatever. And they have a board meeting next Tuesday. So probably like the Tuesday after this comes out about, I don't know, either getting back to leagues or whatever. So that's what I got from the people I knew kind of around the country, not in like the Midwest. I know Minnesota's pretty well shut down with their order until December 18th.
I do know that Mankato had an early league for like 8 weeks, and now they're shut down because of the order.
Yeah. Yeah, I kind of figure everything Minnesota's shut down. It looked like Medford was going to curl. And then, I mean, I'm assuming that, well, we talked to Jenna last time. I'm assuming, was it Waukesha? That's where she's curling out of, right?
Tosa.
Tosa.
So they're probably still curling. I don't know. I didn't go Wisconsin and Minnesota because we're kind of on that. I didn't know anybody in Podunk, Bismarck. Otherwise, I would have asked them. It's not Podunk, Bismarck.
Yeah.
I just didn't know anybody. I could have asked Barkham. Does he still curl or not? I don't know if he's.
I'm not sure if he plays anymore.
I don't know.
Medford's planning on playing.
Yeah.
I mean, just as of the other day, I saw somebody post that they were like starting up Super League, Medford Super League.
Well, is it Duluth closed? What's Columbia County doing?
I don't know.
Arlington is open. Everything else in Columbia County is closed.
Okay. So Portage, Lodi, and Porterville stayed closed.
Got it. I didn't know
Poinette.
Michigan.
Good point. Ed.
I thought
Where's Copper County Curling Club?
It's up in the UP, isn't
that's up in the UP.
Yeah, and I think that's a natural ice
Yeah.
club. I saw that
Yeah.
they were starting to throw water in there because the ground finally got cold enough.
Oh, nice.
They basically have like a stone
Yep.
building with no insulation or no pipes or anything, I think, and then they just freeze it and curl.
And throw rocks as hard as they literally can.
I think it all depends. Like, I think sometimes it's really good.
I've heard
What
some
I've been
stories
told,
from that
but-
spiel that they it's gotten warm and the ceiling was dripping and you kind of had to like throw it as hard as you can and there was a wake that came up behind the rocks and it was pretty gross.
There was a group of curlers. I think a lot of them came out of Wednesday night in Madison. I think at one point in time they took up 2 vans up to that spiel, and we actually have a Copper Cup playoff on Wednesday night with the curlers that have actually gone up and played in
Yeah.
Michigan. So it's a pretty ballsy. It's a pretty ballsy bond spiel. You're either freezing your balls off or you're hotter than hell. So
Yeah.
it?
Yeah.
Sounds like fun.
I just tried to get some clubs from around the nation. I don't think I know anybody in Michigan. Otherwise, I probably would have tried to get Michigan. I was going to try and get Columbus because I thought Robert Horton used to curl there, but he moved, so he doesn't
Again?
curl there.
Again?
Yeah, again. Yeah, he moved again.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what he said. He moved to Charlottesville, Virginia. He's like, there's no curling club here. This sucks. And I was like, yeah, that kind of stinks. So
Dylan, did you have status on Duluth?
I know initially.
yeah, we talked about that, Garrett. They're closed until the 18th, like everything in Minnesota.
No, aren't they close till New Year?
Last I knew they were starting at 4 weeks, but I think the writing's got on the wall that it's probably going to be.
Yeah, they were closed before the order.
So
came out.
did you?
Yeah,
have to-
what I saw in Duluth was they initially closed to November 30th, and then with the order, I think they're closed now until December 18th, which is the governor's order.
Yeah.
I think that's everything in Minnesota.
So did they ask for full dues for you guys?
So we paid them right away, and then initially their kind of way to go about it was, hey, we're going to wait 4 weeks, kind of see what's see what happens and go from there. I really haven't followed up a whole lot on how they're going to go about it, but I was like, yeah, I mean, because I know, like I talked to Pope and all those guys, and they're having just as much fun with this as everyone else is. So it's like, when it's all said and done, we'll come back and worry about that. But in the meantime, I'm just kind of riding it out.
Mm-hmm.
Got it. Yeah, and then yeah, I'm sure Dean can probably update us on the East Coast.
East Coast, yeah.
So, yeah, I just figured that would be fun. I'm sure there's some people I missed or regions I missed or whatever, but if you're listening, let us know if you guys are open or whatever's going on. We'd be interested to hear and pass it along. So
they're curling in, I don't know how you say it, Harv. It's spelled like Favre, F-A-V-R-E, except with an H in Montana.
Huh.
Harv, Montana.
I sold them 2 orders, and two kind of like big club orders here in the last week.
Is that an arena club or a dedicated ice or what? No idea.
Yeah, no, it's an arena club of some
Got
sort. Let me look it up real quick.
Yeah, do that. This is interesting. I don't know about. I don't think I know anybody in Portland. There's a club there, right? Portland, Oregon.
Yes.
And I'm assuming most things California are pretty well shut down. West of that, or not west, but east of that.
Curling is going to be
Denver and Phoenix. Vegas doesn't have a club.
Curling anywhere in the U.S. right now is going to be dicey no matter where you are.
Yeah, pretty much. I guess I could have gone to Illinois, maybe talk to... Oh, Annie doesn't even live there anymore, does she?
Oh, well.
Annie Swisshelm?
No,
I think she's in Michigan.
She's in
Everything's.
Michigan.
I think everything in Illinois is currently closed. All the
Got it.
Like,
Yeah.
I think that there was the one going, and then there was some positive cases, and then that I think is now. I think that I heard that they're all shut down now.
Got it. Windy
The
City.
Highline Curling. It's called the Highline Curling Club, and I'm gonna call it Harv.
I like that.
Brett Harv.
That would be Brent
Is an
Harv.
arena club.
Brett.
looks like 4 sheets worth. Oh yeah, they got 4 sheets.
Nice.
They got some fun names for the team, for the players. Man, they got 3 shifts worth.
Wow, that's pretty good.
That's good.
When we talk
It
about the
looks like
Havre
once a
stuff,
week.
the Harv stuff, can we put in the something about Mary scene where it's like, well, what about you and Brett Havre?
Havre, Montana.
If somebody in Harv is listening, we really like you guys.
Yeah.
Just having a good time with your name.
Email us. Tell
Email us. Tell us how it's pronounced.
Tell us about your club.
Yeah.
CurlingNation@curlingnetwork.com.
Absolutely.
But
Last time I heard,
I'm gonna look it up.
Okay.
Not rhyming with Brett Favre or Havre. Havre.
Havre.
The correct pronunciation of the Highline town's name is Havre.
Got it. I like it.
Yeah.
It's funny that's what it says though. Not rhyming with Brett Favre or Havre.
In some positive curling news, I guess Canada's trying to make a bubble in Calgary
Yeah.
for the Briar, the Scotties, mixed doubles, and immediately following that is men's worlds. The article I saw, there might be more events to come within that bubble. No fans, TV cameras only.
Do you think they
Hopefully
need
works.
some perabs? Should we
Ooh, they
check
might.
and see if they need some perabs?
Yeah.
All right.
Let me. I'll text that to Kevin Martin and see
yeah,
if
do. Yeah, do please.
see if he can get us on there for the prep group.
Yeah. We couldn't get back into the United States probably, but it would be fun for a few weeks.
Did we get any updates on an alternative site to nationals, to United States Curling Nationals?
Not that I'm aware of.
No.
No, I think the latest update on that is that they are trying very hard to figure something out. But there is a definite possibility that Nationals is going to be delayed or canceled.
Got it.
At its current time.
When is the did they give the dates on the Calgary bubble thing? Because that would kind of give like a probably drop dead date, at least for
men's Worlds is still scheduled for the first week in April. So okay. With those events being just prior to that, it sounds like March.
I'm just thinking like if men's Worlds is in April, like when it's normally planned, how far could they push back?
Yeah, because they probably got to show up in quarantine.
Yeah. And the men's Worlds in Calgary because men's Worlds was supposed to be in Canada this year? Is that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
It was supposed to be in Ottawa. I guess I don't know if that's the reason why they're doing it in Calgary or if that's just a convenient.
It sounds like that was a convenient place to have a bubble, or they could figure it out there.
It probably has the infrastructure. You can get teams in and out as far as for Worlds if it makes it to that.
Was Nationals? I mean, at one point in time, they were like looking at bigger clubs that could hold Nationals. Are they restricted to more like an arena type style to get?
They're not. They're not restricted to that. They're. I don't know what their plans are, but I'm sure they're looking at all options. But it seems to me they could control a curling club a lot easier than they could an arena.
Yeah, my sense is that like everything at this point, the best thing that the first thing they're probably trying to do is figure out where they could have it, because you can't do it in California because they're real restricted, and we're real restricted. At least in Dane County, we're real restricted. Wisconsin in general isn't awful, but I mean, Minnesota's terrible. Illinois is terrible. I mean, it's like, where are they going to have it where they have a likelihood of even having it? I don't know what out east is. I mean, I guess they could do it in Florida. Florida doesn't care, right?
Florida doesn't care about much. But no, I think it all certainly in Wisconsin, it depends on the county.
Right.
Whereas in Minnesota, it depends on the state because the governor has put more controls there.
Yes.
Than Wisconsin has. So
right.
Wisconsin's county by county. So
yeah, I'm just that's my sense is what when they're trying to plan it, they're probably trying to figure out where they're going to have the most success in doing it, because it's not something that they can logistically pull together in like a week.
Right.
Question to you, because you've been competitive curling. What do you think these guys are going through? I mean, are they like scrambling? Does it matter to them? I mean, do they need to have time on the ice? What do you think it's like for them to like say, okay, well, I got a chance to go and curl competitively. What's the dynamic?
So this is the big concern that the USCA is trying to counter right now or figure out, is they don't want to rush an event for the sake of having it if nobody's going to be able to practice. If it's going to be a core event. So that, and the way it looks right now is if they kept it at the scheduled dates, which was like the very end of January, first week of February, that's what they would get. They would get an event where everybody's showing up with little to no ice time. And they don't want that. So that's why there's such a, I don't know, such a likelihood maybe. I don't know if that might be too strong of a word, but there's definitely a chance they're just going to push it back to some extent. And how much they can is still up in the air, because no matter what, once they figure it out, it's going to take a while to plan and get organized, and then you got to figure out what people are going to be able to commit to even trying to play, if they're going to be able to have challenge rounds. Like the Women's Worlds happens almost right away. Like the Women's Worlds normally
Is that mid-March?
is early enough. What's that?
Isn't that mid-March? Usually.
Yeah, but like it's if they have to go to Switzerland, I was told they have to quarantine for 2 weeks.
Mhm.
So like basically they could finish nationals, go home for like a week, maybe 2, and then they'd have to fly to Switzerland and start quarantining. And if that's the plan, to still have Women's Worlds at the same time as they were going to in Switzerland.
Yeah. So with all these teams needing to quarantine, is that a cost on your country's governing body, or is that a cost on the host?
Probably on the country's governing body. I mean, maybe somewhat on the host in the WCF. But I don't know. And that's a big issue. Like in the hey, Dean's coming. In the U.S., that's an issue. Is how much would the USCA cover if we had a bubble?
Right.
I was more talking about the competitors. Like, what's their mindset? Are they ready for it? Is that just like curling, and they're just gonna run into it and just go? I mean,
no. I think everybody's probably different, but like I said, I mean, they don't right now. The USCA is worried about hosting an event where nobody's practiced ahead of time, and so I think the curlers, they're probably mostly just like, well, I don't know what to expect, because we don't even know if and when we're going to be able to curl, practice, place anything real.
So U.S. Nationals is going to come down to, what are we talking about, man? Practice? Talking about practice?
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Is it going to be like practice?
You put it on the tee. Put it on the tee. I had to do it. What are we talking about, man? Practice?
What are we talking about? Practice?
Not the game. I know I'm supposed to be there. I know I'm the captain. But what are we talking about, man? Practice?
I mean, I get it. We're trying to put the best product on the field. Or is it about, hey, you guys know how to curl. You know what to do.
Nationals would be garbage without practice. So I agree. All right. Hey, I think Dean's here. All right, gents. We got a good one this week. We're joined on the podcast by curler, author, comedian, Dean Gemmell. Dean curls out of the East Coast. Dean, welcome to the show.
Thanks very much for having me, guys. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, you bet. Dean, curler, comedian, author. Put those in order of importance. What are you most?
I wish comedian
foremost?
was number one, but it's clearly not. I'm late to comedy, so it has to go curler, author, podcaster, and then comedian. Unfortunately, for now, I'm like in the 5 and under of comedy, right? So I'm making my way through it like that. I think I might do all right, but I'm still I'm like when you watch a 5 and under spiel and you're wondering what the hell's going on. So when it comes to comedy.
Got it. Yeah, podcaster. You had a podcast for a long time.
I did. I was the smart guy who started a podcast in 2005 and then stopped doing it right as podcasts took off.
Got
So
it.
that
Yeah.
was my strategy. Yeah.
Some people referred you to as the godfather of curling podcast, which I guess just means
That's not the worst thing, but yeah, I started it in 2005. I wasn't curling regularly. I lived in Michigan at the time, and I started the podcast to have some connection to the game, and then I ended up doing it from 2005 to 2017. I think I ended up doing about 260 interviews or so, but and then to be honest, I just the format I might have been just a little tired of. You can only talk to, as much as I enjoy these other curlers, you can only talk to Brad Gushu so many times before you're tired of it. So, and then they're all great guys and women, but after a while, I wasn't as enthusiastic.
So you're doing any?
Well, who was your favorite person to interview?
Well, actually, I'll tell you, the guy I had on the most was John Mead, who used to play at Jeff Stoughton, and John was always a great guest. He was right up there. I had, because I wrote a book with Morris and became friends with him. I probably hit him on 5 or 6 times. Trying to think of there were a couple of, there's somebody else who was, Gushu was on a few times. Wayne Madaw was on a couple times. So yeah. But I think John Mead was the highest. I think he was at 9 appearances for John Mead.
Got it. Did you want to turn around?
Mead, so that was probably a good choice.
Yeah, he's a tough guy not to like, right? He always had lots of good insight. Oh, Ben Hebert I had on a lot too because he never knew what he was going to say. So I like to have Ben on.
Did you want to turn around and pick up all those names you just dropped, or are you good?
Oh,
with that?
sorry. Yes. Yeah. For the American curling.
No. That's okay.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Sorry. I think most people know those guys.
They do.
It was a very Canadian-centric
big
show, though I had more and more American guests on as it went on. But in 2005, that's where the audience was. So
for sure.
Are you doing any more curling podcasts? Sorry, hang on.
Sorry, go ahead.
Are you doing any more podcasts now, or?
I actually have an idea for a new podcast. I'm going to start in a bit. It's going to combine comedy and curling, so it won't really compete well in either arena, to be honest. It'll be a failure among comedy podcasts and among curling podcasts.
We're all happy to come on and drag down your show if you really need us to.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, perfect.
Can you give us some background? Like, where'd you start? I hear a Canadian accent.
I can't shake it. I've been in the U.S. for more than half my life. I moved here in '91 full time, but I grew up right on the border, and I was born in Vancouver, but I grew up in Niagara Falls, Ontario, and that's where I started curling in the Niagara Falls Curling Club. I went to school in Montreal, and actually I represented Quebec at the 1988 Brier, believe it or not, when I was 20 years old. And then moved to the U.S. in '91, and really went from '91 to about, I guess, 2006. Didn't really curl much. Maybe curled a few spiels with my dad and things like that, but was not curling regularly. And then really missed it, and actually regret that I didn't curl all those years. But in 2006, I was like just young enough to think I could. Just young and stupid enough to think I could give it another go. So that's what happened. I came back in 2006-07 and started playing again in New Jersey, of all places, which is not actually a curling hotbed, although our club is thriving.
What club?
It's the Plainfield Curling Club in South Plainfield, New Jersey. So we have 2 sheets. And at one point, I think after the 2010 Olympics, when I was the club president, we had 280 members on 2 sheets. So I think we run about 240 members right now.
That's pretty good for two sheets.
Are you curling?
Yeah, it's a lot. I'm sorry?
Is your club open?
We're not open right now. There are plans to open in January, but with all this stuff, I'm not convinced that will happen. But that's the current plan.
Yeah, we did a bit of a nationwide update, and so we're trying to figure out what's going on. I tried to connect with some people all over and didn't know what was going on out east. I don't know a lot of people out there.
I mean, I know
There
like
wasn't a lot of
Ardsley
good
is
news out
open
there.
nearby here. They're in Westchester. They're open with socially distanced. People come in, they curl, they leave.
Got it.
So I don't know if there's a lot to be gained from opening right now, but
Yeah. I was just trying to figure out.
You guys know, yeah. I mean, Madison is not open, correct?
Nope, Madison's not
Yeah.
opening this year.
Yeah,
Granite's
we're
not
done.
opening this year. Denver was open. Phoenix has been open, but they're both closed right now.
Right.
There's some clubs across Wisconsin that have made ice and opened up for a little bit, but I think a majority of those are on hold for now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's depressing,
So
but that's the
not a
reality,
lot
I'm
of
afraid.
not a lot of positive news on that front
No.
right now.
Half the reason that we are doing this is because normally this is what we would do every Monday night,
Right.
with basically the same group.
Yeah.
Either at the end of an 8:30 game or a 6:30 game, we would be sitting around a table, basically having these same conversations with drinks, and now we're doing it from our own locations.
With
Like
drinks.
we miss
Webcam.
those pointless drunken conversations after games.
yeah,
So let's
absolutely.
Have
Not pointless.
That's
Yeah.
half the reason
not
that's
pointless.
over half the reason
Fair
I curl.
enough. Yes.
Yeah.
Dean, talk a little bit about like how'd you get into competitive curling? How'd that come about? What's your background in competitive curling?
Sure. So I was lucky enough where I grew up, the town had actually a big high school curling program. So I'm a big believer in high school curling programs. And then one of the gym teachers was actually a curling coach. So, you know, he picked a team every year to be the school team, and then we played junior curling together and everything else. But my parents were also very involved in the sport. My dad was president of Niagara Falls Curling Club, and I was a, pretty competitive curler back when, that was sort of a different thing, but in the 70s and 80s. And my mom was actually 1991 U.S. women's champ and a two-time Canadian senior women's champ. So she had some, so I was always around it as a kid, and then got into it probably most when I was 14, 15. And then played through high school. I played in junior curling in Ontario. There was a lot of guys I played a lot against Wayne Madaw and Richard Hard and Mike Harris, and all those guys were about my same age. And then, like I said, then I moved to the U.S. and really just wasn't in a position career-wise or location-wise to make curling possible. So, and basically took a long time off, except for a little bit now and then I'd go and lace up the old Asham brick shoes and take out the corn broom and go play in Spiel somewhere. And then came back in 06, 07 and just started throwing rocks again. So that's really the story.
And then tell us your accolades in competitive curling.
Well, I've always been lucky enough. I always said that as my skills diminished, I became better at team architecture. So I became better at being part of good teams. I've always felt like that's been my biggest strength as a curler, is being part of good teams. So yeah, in Quebec, I was with a team when I was 20, and we went to the Brier, which was unusual at 20 in those days. And then we won I was lucky enough to win the 2012 U.S. Men's Championship with Heath McCormick, Bill Stopera, and Martin Sather. And so yeah, that was a lot of fun those years we played together. I had Craig Brown as our fifth man at the 2012 World Men's Championship, which is where I really got to know Craig pretty well. And
we're sorry about that.
Yeah, it was unfortunate, but he worked out. And then when our team ended after the trials, we played like half a season with Tyler George. We swapped skips, and then I skipped a team at the U.S. Nationals. Then we played one more year with Heath. And then at the end of the 2016 U.S. Nationals, I turned to my good friend Bill Stopera, I played with for years. And I said, you know what, Bill, we're not going to improve anymore. From 40 to 45, I thought I could get better. But after that, we're not going to improve. So that was sort of the end of it. From 40 to 45, I think I improved. Partly playing with someone like Heath gave me a lot of, helped me improve a lot, and the other guys in the team. But you reach an age where you realize, no, this is really maxed out. So that's when I sort of pulled back.
So I'm going to chime in for a second about that 2012 Nationals. First of all, you guys weren't lucky.
No, I don't think we were at all. Yeah.
You were very, very, very good that week.
Mm-hmm.
You kicked everybody else's ass, basically. And So I'm pissed because naturally, being from the Midwest, I was confident that I was going to be able to beat these guys from the East Coast.
Right.
You know, nowadays there's a little bit less of that feeling.
For sure, yeah.
But also everybody from the Midwest kind of had this little bit of a grudge against Heath.
Yep.
He's, you know, basically Heath's Canadian.
Right.
And he's American only in name, as in he was born in the U.S. and I don't know that he ever like lived
6 months
in the U.S.
Did I mention my skills at
6
team
months?
architecture, Craig?
Yeah, no, I get it. And now I'm good friends with Heath. I'm totally cool with Heath in all ways. But at the same time, we did not want Heath to be
Totally
signed up for our
understand it.
championships to win.
Yep.
And Bill is just a pain in the ass.
Exactly.
And he's super. If you don't know him, he's super annoying, super obnoxious. And, I mean, he's just like this. I don't know. He's got all these signs that flash. I'm kind of a dick.
He's very New York,
And-
Billy. And he's one of my very best friends. So I say that.
I really. Yeah, nowadays Bill's great. Now that I know him, but I hated the guy when I got initially. So I'm playing against you guys in nationals.
Yeah.
And I'm playing my ass off.
You were ahead
And
too.
My team is doing nothing to help me in this particular game.
Right.
And I miss a shot, and they look at me like, "What the hell are you doing?" And I've carried them for the first 7 ends of this
you guys
game.
were up 5-3 or something. I remember it.
And I missed this one shot, and they give me this look, and I am ready to just kill them. And I slam my broom on the ground, like butt end first. The head goes flying off.
Pop the
broom.
top right off the popper. I remember it.
Yeah, like 6-8 feet up in the air.
Yeah.
It lands behind me, and I'm basically just fucking furious, excuse my language, that I'm about to lose this game to Canadian Heath and Bill.
New York Bill.
New York Bill.
I turn around to pick up my shattered broom, and the bar ran right along the side of the sheet. We were on, I don't know if it was sheet 1 or sheet 5. We were on an end sheet.
Yeah, outside sheet.
The bar was along that side.
So the bar was on, like they took over the booth? Or they took over
the bar it was like a viewing area, but it was right next to the outside sheet.
Oh,
it wasn't on the ice, but
fantastic.
It was inside glass. And but as I turn around to pick up my destroyed broom, I look, and like 8 feet away is my mom. Just looking at me.
Oh, Diane was upset. She was hot.
Disappointed look on her face. Of like, what happened to my child? Like he's like Bill now.
She's thinking, you said these guys were the assholes, and look at you.
Look at you.
Yeah.
You're out here breaking brooms.
I remember that vividly. I remember when you slammed the broom like that, and that was actually, that was a magical week for us, to be honest. I mean, we went 12-0, and we were playing well that season. So I mean, like Craig said, I mean, I don't think we were lucky. We were playing well, and Heath was ridiculous that week. And I also knew when the Nationals was announced to be in Philadelphia, I said to the guys, this is our best chance ever to win this, because every Midwest team's going to hate this, right? And it was like there was traffic, there was a lot of obnoxious New Jersey, Philadelphia people in the stands. Everything lined up perfectly for us. I said, this is our best shot ever. And, it turned out it kind of was. So, but yeah, I remember that game pretty well. I was actually looking at a photo of it the other day, Craig, because I forgot that you guys were up like 5-3 or something. I don't know what happened. I guess it was that shot. So,
maybe.
I can't remember too much, but yeah, it was
fun.
fun.
About home field advantage, right?
It was totally home field advantage. My club in New Jersey was literally like barely an hour and a half away. The people in Philly were very supportive. And like Craig said, it was a little different time. It was 2012. Doesn't seem like all that long ago, but there was a East Coast thing. And we had been in the playoffs the previous year and the previous year before that with Matt Hames. So people kind of thought we could at least get close, you know. So people came out and they cheered, and there were a lot of people that year, Craig, if you remember, who knew nothing about curling, would just cheer at all kinds of times. I mean, it was, and that was the first year. I mean, the finals were sold out. I mean, they sold out the building at like 2,000 fans. I mean, so for U.S. curling, it was kind of a deal. So, but it was, and certainly a guy like, you know, he thrives in that kind of thing. I knew he would thrive in it, and so it was kind of a magical week.
It was a little funny that, you know, because I come out of this the Bonspiel. I come out of this Nationals like, God, those assholes won. You know, whatever. They played.
And all we were thinking was that Craig Brown's a pretty nice fella.
Yeah, I smashed a broom against
I had no idea we were such
rage.
assholes. Yeah.
And on like Tuesday morning, I'm coming home from dropping my kid off at daycare, and Dean calls me and says, "You want to go to Worlds as our fifth?" I'm like, "What?"
Yeah.
Like, I'd never spoken a word to Martin.
Right. Yeah, we were sort of one thing we did too is we played a lot. We played mainly, you know, and that was when the schedules were a lot less intense. But we played mainly on the Ontario Curling Tour because it's close for us, and Heath was there, so we didn't see a lot of the American guys until Nationals every year. So yeah, we were definitely, but we never knew we were held in such low regard until after we won, and then Craig told me everybody was just mad. But yeah, we didn't realize we were
everybody was mad. They weren't necessarily thinking that you didn't deserve it, but everybody was mad.
Oh, I understood. Yeah, that certainly helped fuel us all week.
What was the powwow to decide to bring Craig on for fifth man?
Well, obviously we didn't have any other friends, Garrett. I mean, nobody else liked us. And for some reason, I thought Craig did. Well, it turns out that wasn't even the case, but he was our best bet of the guys that were left. Everybody else seemed to really dislike us. So I thought Craig would be a good choice. And despite what you know, Bill, again, was a great friend of mine, but he wouldn't have even realized if Craig thought he was an asshole. So we didn't know.
Who was the naysayer in the group, though?
There were no naysayers. We didn't look. It was a short list. We didn't have a lot of candidates. I mean, we thought Craig hated us the least.
Yeah. Well, I didn't. I liked you, and I was indifferent toward Heath, except for the fact that he was Canadian and he was barging in on our championships, essentially. But you know, I didn't know Martin, and I hated Bill. But now I like Bill too. So.
Well, I can tell you how Heath happened. We left the I think it was the 2010 Nationals, and Bill and I were flying home, and we had Matt Hames was skipping us then, and he pretty much decided he wasn't going to play. So Bill and I went on Curling Zone and looked up the birthplaces of everybody in Canada who was playing on tour, and Heath happened to list Lansing, Michigan, and I'd literally played against him once, and it was like, I think he's pretty good, so we should phone him. Yeah. But that was really the other reality of that is we knew none of you guys liked us, so we didn't have any other options again. It was like, this is our best bet. So yeah, that was really how that was our New York style to find a skip for us.
Dude, we gotta call this episode Story Times with Dean, because this is great.
It was
or just call it Nobody Likes Dean.
Nobody likes Dean.
Yeah, nobody likes Dean. But we literally went through Curling Zone because they used to have bios of everybody. And we were looking for, okay, one of these Canadians has to be born in the United States.
Somebody's got to be born in the United States. That's awesome.
Sure enough, Heater was.
You should get a job with USA Curling, just putting together teams.
I played against Heath once, and then I introduced Martin and Bill to Heath at our first spiel, and then we went out and beat John Epping first game. Second game, we beat John Epping, and it was like, yeah, Heath, here are the guys. So
that's awesome.
Away we went. So
that's hilarious.
Not a bad start.
Yeah. And like Craig was talking about his guys giving him the looks. Well, we didn't mind that because Heath gave us that look pretty much after every shot we ever threw.
Oh, he did.
So, yeah. So we deserved it half the time, but yeah. We deserved it a lot, but you know, it's funny because I always say, you know, I think after he played with us, Heath had teams that, if you looked at them on paper, far more talented, but somehow we managed to put together a week. So, you know, it's.
Were you the a-hole that like implemented all your like book stuff about team strategy and camaraderie and whatnot into the mix, or were you like the low man on the totem pole?
I don't think anybody was low man on the totem pole, but it was you know, it was Heath's team, but Heath's not also like a super vocal guy, so it was always like I have a big feeling that if you're not skipping, especially if you're playing front end, it's all about proper care and feeding of the skip. So we, you know, I think that's a big part of being successful as a team, part of team chemistry. So what I learned, in all seriousness, what I learned early on was sort of what Heath needed to play his best, right? And one thing he didn't need, and I think what helped him, was he didn't need a lot of input from us. So I used to have a thing I would say, there's a X amount of times in a game I will say something to Heath, which was a pretty low number, and X amount of times per season. And if I was playing badly, that number was typically 0. But yeah, I mean, it was honestly, with that, I was all focused on getting him in the right headspace to play. Because if he was playing well, you know, you could, you know, and feeling confident, you'd do pretty well. So that was always my feeling. And like I say, he's a great friend of mine now, but he definitely made us all better players. Like I said, we improved from in that time, and I improved just from playing with him. I'd been away from the game a lot. I didn't, you know, and he played at the time like a super aggressive strategy that was hard. I mean, when you play in front of Heath, especially back then, you had to play a lot of hard shots at every position. So, you know, one thing I used to always say was, you know, our percentages as a team might be lower, but try playing, you know, 8 corner freezes in a game, you know, when, you know, some teams would throw a peel. So, you know, Stopera, third, definitely knew that. So, and Bill was a great mix at the time, because Bill was also a guy who played as a kid, took a long time away, came back, and was a bit like, you know, sort of like he's a good athlete who was a bit of since then has sort of learned, certainly isn't like this now, but was still learning the game in a way. So whatever he said was kind of was going to go.
I like it.
Good stuff. All right, you want to tell us a little bit about these books that you wrote?
Sure. So I wrote 2 books. When I first came back to curling, I wrote. I used to work in advertising, and I've been a copywriter. So I decided to write a book about fitness training. I interviewed John Morris a bunch of times on the podcast. Didn't really know John before that, but got to know him through the podcast. I pitched him this idea because at the time, he and T. Martin were like the team that was sort of into fitness. I said, why don't we do a fitness book? He had a background as a trainer. Actually went up to St. John's, Newfoundland in 2008, talked to him about the book. I said, look, I'll write it. Your name's on it. But he actually did a lot of work in terms of programs and everything else in the book. And, you know, I did the bulk of the writing. We put it together, and then that sort of all fell into perfect place because we brought the book out in, I guess, the fall of 2009. They win the Olympic trials that year in Canada. TSN does a piece halfway through the break with John holding the book. They win the Olympic gold, and they talk about the book on NBC as they do it. And, you know, so the book sold out. That was great. And then I did, and then I guess it was shortly after I left playing seriously, or right just before, I thought there'd never been a book about brushing or sweeping, and I think I was a pretty decent sweeper at the time, you know, and I certainly put a lot of thought into it about how to make it right, how to make it work. So I did an ebook, Kindle ebook, and called Brush Like a Badass. Put that out. That's continues to sell pretty well, and then that's also led to, which has been the better offshoot of it, it's led to I started doing a clinic, a Brush Like a Badass clinic that I take to clubs, and I've probably had think I've had over 1,000 people do the clinic now at various clubs. But I go into a club, they sign up, we do. It's like a 2-hour session. So yeah, those are the two main books. I've got a novel on the Amazon too, but that's not really worth talking about.
Yes.
Hang on.
Is it a romantic novel?
Yeah.
What is it?
No, it's not romantic. It's pretty dark, actually. It's pretty dark. It's called Escaping Teddy. But it's sort of a dark journey.
Teddy.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know if it's got a couple of passing curling references, but it's not exactly it's not the feel good novel of the year, let's put it that way. And it's deeply flawed in spots, but
Dean, you said
whatever,
that
I got it done.
You said that Fit to Curl came out in 2009.
Yep.
I mean, the game hasn't changed a lot, but it's changed some. Do you think the fitness in there still holds up? Is there?
Well, I think it has, actually. I think if we were going to do it now, it'd be a more comprehensive book. I think John would say that too. And we've actually talked about doing a second edition, but it just the time and everything else. But I mean, honestly, when we did that in 2009, I mean, you're still talking about like Randy Ferbey and, as an elite curler at that, and, and nothing against Randy Ferbey, is a great player, but you don't see a guy who looks like Randy Ferbey anymore.
Not very many.
Or, or Marcel Rock for that matter. So, I mean, the guys are all ripped, and probably we'd have, our book would, if we're going to do, I know John has actually studied it quite a bit since, and nutrition and everything. So he'd be interested in doing it, updating it, so it was more modern. But yeah, I mean, at the time, it was,
It's still,
2009, they weren't as fit as now. I mean, the guys now are really fit.
It's still going to be a good book for the club curler, for the...
Yeah,
right?
For sure.
Club
I mean, if
curler,
you're like 95%
maybe somebody's
of
starting to
curlers,
play down. Yeah.
Exactly.
Got it.
For 95% of curlers, and it is available as an ebook, for 95% of curlers, it's going to be great. And actually, in 2012, I was in the best shape of my life. I was 44 years old when we won, but I was in the best shape of my life, and all I did was that book. I mean,
nice.
And when we started working on the book, John would send me the stuff. Here's the programs, whatever, and I would do them to figure out what they were. And yeah, I've never been fitter than I was in 2012, 13.
That's awesome.
Am I talking too much for you guys? I feel like I'm
No,
really
you're good.
monopolizing this conversation.
No.
Mikey's got a question about the duck.
Oh,
The duck.
Yeah.
yeah. How'd you get that nickname, buddy?
Yeah, that's a funny one because it's only about 5 guys who use it. But when we played in Ben Tucker, who was the
there's a name.
broadcaster.
There's his
Tuck.
name.
Yeah.
So Tuck started. So in 2011 in
Everybody knows
Fargo,
who Tuck is.
the Nationals were in Fargo. What people don't remember is Tuck was doing it without video. He was doing 5 sheets audio, which is crazy.
That's
right?
gross.
So I got to talk to him. I got to know him a bit then. And then in 2012, he was sort of like a secret fan of our team, and he became friends with a couple of East Coast guys I know, or he already was, I guess. And he started calling me Duck because of my hair, I guess. It stands up. He started calling me Duck all the time. And then people in my club heard it, and when they came to Philly, they came down with duck calls.
Oh, that was great. I was going to bring that up.
Yeah, they were using those in the stands. And so that was kind of fun. That was yeah, they had duck calls. We threw out Heath bars. I mean, we really did it up.
That might have been
the Midwest had no chance.
That might have been another reason why teams hated you.
Yeah, exactly. We had a lot to be hated for. I'm not gonna lie. We played it up. All the East Coast attitude. That's what we went for.
Nice. You got any more curling books you want to write?
I don't know. I'm sure I got maybe another. I'll have maybe another one in me before at some point if I can. It's all about getting it fired up about a topic and wanting to invest the time in it, right? And also, I mean, you want to make sure it's something that pays off too. It's a lot of time. I mean, I knew that Fit to Curl was going to sell, and then once Morris sort of had the success he did, it was a no-brainer. But and then the brushing book has been great, primarily because it's led to these clinics, which have been good. And yeah, so I don't know. I mean, it's hard with curling, right? Because it's a small audience already, as Craig knows from selling curling supplies. So you got to find something that, and I should say Craig carried a lot of the book too. You bought a lot of Fit to Curl books and sold them. So
Well,
I
I did. I
appreciated
sold
that.
a lot of them, and
Yeah.
then I kept trying to get more, and then you kept not having any more, and then
Yeah, we
I
haven't.
still get until recently I had them just on the website but hidden, like you couldn't
Right.
find them.
Right.
But if somebody did like a direct search, like if they, I don't even know if it was on all websites, but like let's say they're on Google and they type "fit to curl book,"
Yeah.
like there'd be a link to my page, even though
Really?
the book didn't exist on my page anymore.
Yeah.
And so up until last year, I'd still get half a dozen orders a year. And finally, I just had to delete the whole thing because I knew that I was never going to get any more hard copies. But,
I kind of find it surprising that nobody else has done one. Like, I know Mark Nichols and Gushu have an Orange Theory studio, and certainly Jacob's team was well positioned to do that at one point. But
No, Jacob's team is in shape? No.
Yeah, you think so, right? Yeah.
Maybe they just
they
don't
could've-
want to share.
Yeah. I think actually though the window of opportunity was also what we hit right. I mean, I don't know if I think now that,
Yeah.
but
For sure.
because there was nobody else was really talking about it at the time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, now the USCA has got the HP program, and they're training all the HP athletes for it. So
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, the market's probably different for that kind of book now, but there's still a lot of athletes out there curling athletes that want to be better at what they do.
I mean, I'm
Absolutely.
still amazed. You go on eBay and people are selling used copies. So,
Nice.
funny. Maybe that's because they hate.
You don't get any of those royalties, do you?
No, they
No.
probably are like,
No.
they sell the used copy and they say this book sucks, but if you want to buy it, no. So
what's going on with Curl NYC?
So Curl NYC was a company we started out here. Dean Roth is one partner, and Chad McMullen out of Toronto. What we really were trying to do was they were going to build this 9-sheet super ice facility in the Bronx, and we were going to run the curling program at that. That thing's been stalled since 2012. In the interim, we have I think we own about 11 sets of rocks now, and we basically do private events and rent rocks to arena clubs and leagues. And like we did a big event with the New Jersey Devils last year on the ice at the Prudential Center right before the pandemic started, which was great. And we've done rooftop curling. I've run rooftop events in New York City at a place called Pier 17 for the last 2 years. So yeah, we're basically like, if you have some crappy ice and you want to do curling, we'll show up and make curling happen. I mean, the ice just horrendous. I mean,
That's terrible.
I used to be a curling snob about ice, and now I'm like, yeah, this is pretty good. This is 80 feet long, and whatever.
That's great.
But honestly, we do people. I think the big thing from that is if you can give people like a step-on slider, you can give them the sensation of sliding on the ice and how to throw a stone. We teach them the full delivery. The rest is like whatever the first time out. But so I do know that we've had people leave those events and gone on to curl because they got hooked from those. So,
Great.
Yeah.
So is curling
I
in New?
loved your YouTube. You were in some club, a 2-sheet club someplace,
Yeah.
and you were teaching. I can't remember what it was.
Oh, Ken Danico? Kenny
Yeah.
Danico? Yeah.
Your,
That was it.
Your Canadian accent was like above.
That's because he's got one, so then it comes out more. Yeah, that was in advance of that Devils event. He came to my club in New Jersey, and we filmed stuff on the ice there. So it was like a real high-end event. They had like a big casino, and it was expensive. But we put curling ice right on the Devils rink, so it was kind of cool. They did a cool thing. They put the houses they projected with lights. So that was,
there you go.
It was sort of good. I mean, actually we had Tyler George came out to it. So walked around with the gold medal on, and yeah, it was a fun night. Devils are a pretty classy organization, no matter how good their hockey team does, but they're a good organization.
You just got to get Jay-Z on board. He's got,
Mhm.
if you could get him on board, it's probably going to go, right?
Yeah, I mean,
it
this thing
seems
in
like
the
an
Bronx
easy get.
was,
Just send him an email.
you know, Mark Messier was the CEO of this thing, but there was other money guys, of course, behind it. But if that had happened, would have been pretty great. But I'm not that confident about it now. But you know,
Yeah,
so
curling
we're
club.
still. Sorry, go ahead, Joel.
Curling club in New York just sounds really, really, really expensive.
Well, that's the challenge here is always the real estate, right? So the thing in the Bronx was great because the real estate was sort of handled, you know. But yeah, we're always on the lookout for the right kind of site, and who knows, maybe after this pandemic, maybe there'll be some spaces that weren't available before. But like I'm convinced a curling facility in Brooklyn would do very well.
That'd be awesome.
But it always comes down to the cost per square foot is pretty intimidating.
I want to pick your marketing background a bit. What's your company and what do you guys do? And did you have any hand in the USCA logo at all?
Oh yeah, so I come from an ad background. I worked at ad agencies in New York City, and then I had an ad agency in Kalamazoo, Michigan, where I got some people interested in curling, and now they have a nice club there. And had another company there too. When I moved back to the East Coast, I decided I was going to focus on curling, and I've been essentially a freelancer since then. Now I have a sort of a roster of 2 or 3 main clients that I write for about topics I really don't understand, usually computer related, but nonetheless I forge on. So yeah, so I provide digital marketing help and content for them. And then Jeff Plush is the USCA CEO, was kind enough to ask me if I wanted to do the voiceover for the video for the new logo. So I did that. I sort of like doing that. So that was fun. I think it came out pretty well. I didn't know what the video was going to look like when I did the VO, but it seemed to match up decently.
The voiceover is good. You got the voice for that kind of stuff. You got the face for radio and voiceover too.
Yeah, the timber. Yeah, the face for radio, and it was so funny because when I was doing it, my wife was listening to me and laughing because she thought I was being so dramatic. But anyways, I think
that's what you gotta do, man. You were a pro.
It didn't sound like a script that it sounded like it demanded some dramatic. So.
Use your skills at all in like talking to you about the layout of the logo or anything like that?
No, that was really I think Jeff worked with a company that he used to work with when he was at the women's soccer league, I think. So yeah, and then I just they sent me the script and through Jenna and Jeff, and I have a pretty good setup for recording here, so I laid it down at here and sent it back to them. So yeah, I mean, I think it looks great. So they certainly didn't need my help on that.
So every episode so far, we've discussed the 11 stripes.
Yes.
On the
drink.
You guys really breaking down the logo. I haven't broken it down that much, but
we're really we're focusing on the stripes. Now, do you think that that's kind of a reach, or is that a bunch of BS, or is it legit?
I think every backstory to any logo has a fair amount of BS to it, right? But I read that like I believed it. So, but
good job.
I think it's a nice
good
story.
job.
Yeah.
I sold it, man. I had to, but I mean, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think you need a bit of backstory with logos. That's what that was. So,
you got paid tens of dollars to read it like it mattered.
Yeah, I got paid $0. That was my volunteering for the USCA. Happy to do it.
All right. I think unless somebody else has anything else, I'm gonna hit them up with.
Go Brownie.
Do it.
Go Brownie. Go.
No,
Garrett, stop.
Can I have a little scoop of Fiber One, Brownie? Because I'm a little parched.
Yeah, do it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'm sorry. I'll read the question while you're eating your Fiber One.
I mean, it's gone a little soggy and all, but still.
We should have just let you finish that bowl beforehand.
You don't want to waste a good bowl of Fiber One.
But then you might have to take a break or two.
Yeah,
While
exactly.
we're doing
It's
the
a small
interview.
bowl.
Yeah, all right. Other than your home club, what
Yep.
is or any club that you've considered your home club? What is your favorite club anywhere in the world to play at?
I think St. Paul. I actually really enjoy playing at St. Paul. I love the whole, and even once I stopped playing seriously, I like to go back for that spiel. We played with you in it one year, Craig. We played with Tyler in it one year. Actually, the year he went, the Olympic Games, 2018. I love old clubs. It's an old club. I also love that, there's all those places right around it. You can park your car, walk around. It's just, I've actually never really done all that well curling there, but I've always had a good time. I think one year with Tyler, we made the final, or semifinals maybe, but never really done that well, but always enjoyed myself.
Okay, I have a follow-up question to that. Do you have a favorite comedy club? Or is the comedy club more the crowd, more so than the club?
Yeah, I mean, a favorite one to go to would probably be Comedy Cellar in New York. I mean, it's like sort of ridiculously good. Like, I'm not going to get up there. One's of my own favorite that I love to perform at. I don't know if I have a favorite. Certainly there's one here in New Jersey that I feel comfortable at, but yeah, I'm not at the level of comedy that I was in curling. So, but if you're in New York and the pandemic's not on, you do pretty well as a fan at the Comedy Cellar.
All right.
One question I forgot to ask about comedy. It's like, do you incorporate curling at all in your comedy, or is that
not
kind
really?
of a,
Just because it involves so much
It's a bit obscure.
backstory and explaining, and the big thing with comedy is always trying to edit it down to get it, to be as quick as you can.
So, do you have any curling jokes at all?
I really don't. The only curling
that's
bit
too
I've ever
bad.
tried, and I've tried it a couple times, is about how I couldn't urinate after winning the 2012 Nationals. But even that's a little complicated. But yeah, that's a true story. That I had to pee in the for U.S. Anti-Doping Association after we won, and it took me 2 hours.
Yeah, a little performance anxiety, or
I missed the whole celebration.
So
It was horrible.
got it.
So you're saying you had some stage fright for peeing?
Hey, you try to pee when there's a guy staring at your wiener like he's calling balls and strikes, man, for the whole time.
I was
I was fully dehydrated. I mean, I
was
won. I
military
had nothing left in me. All the adrenaline, I had nothing.
I was military for 22 years, so I know all about peeing in front of crowds.
Yeah.
So
I did not do well. I will say I underperformed in that situation. It was just nothing but a huge relief when I could join the party when it was done. Half the people had left. It was so long.
You ever use your curling chops?
Lost.
Oh,
sorry,
go ahead. Brownie. Go, Brownie.
I lost the final of the 2005 Olympic trials. Go to 2006. I'm playing against Fenson and these guys at the Madison Curling Club because it was, back then we still weren't using arenas in the U.S.
Yeah.
And I get randomly their entire team.
Yeah, they picked two from the other team. Yeah, they picked two from the losing team.
They picked two from the other team.
Yeah.
And
that's fun.
So I'm sitting in the same locker room as these guys who just beat me to win a trip to the Olympics.
Yeah.
And it's the last place in the world I want.
Right. It's horrible.
And I don't even have to go, but I try. And I'm this far short of the frickin' line.
Yeah, you got to fill it.
And you got, whatever. It's not even that much that you have to pee, but like you said, I'm dehydrated after the game. I'm like a half an ounce short, and then I gotta sit there. And these fucking 4 clowns are on the other side of the locker room, couldn't be. They're on cloud 9. They just won a trip to the Olympics, and I'm 12 feet away from them on the other side of the lockers, just wanting to shoot myself.
That's worse than mine. I'm gonna say that's worse than my experience.
Well, I didn't have to wait 2 hours to join a celebration.
Yeah.
But still.
Yeah, it was. That was the worst. But I had nothing left. It was like the whole week of adrenaline just went out, and then I was like, I knew I was in trouble when I got in there, so it didn't go well.
All right. What's your favorite thing about curling? Super general question.
Yeah, no, my
With
favorite
a-
thing about curling, honest, and it sounds like a cliche, but it's the people I've met through curling. I think the curling community is a great one. I love the fact that I'm friends with people I didn't actually play with on a serious team, but played against guys like you, Craig, and so yeah, that's definitely my favorite thing. And I like to compete too, so I like the competitive nature of curling, but undoubtedly the people around it and the way you get to meet people in it.
Okay, that's a pretty standard answer. Everybody seems to come up with that.
Yeah, I
Not
should have
that
come up
you're
with
not
something
saying
better.
You're not original.
No,
but-
it's bullshitty, but
No, it's true though.
yeah.
All right, what's your favorite Bonspiel, and why?
So you might guess this one, but my favorite Bonspiel, and the last time I played in it was with Craig, John Brunt, and my father, is the Blind River Men's Closing in Blind River, Ontario. So
I have to jump in here. I was asked to go to this spiel, and I had
Oh
to
my
decline because it was the
that
week
was
after House of Hearts, and I
that's
thought
an
I was gonna
egregious
get
error.
I thought I was gonna get divorced if I would have gone. It is probably
would've
one
been
of the
worth it.
biggest regrets of my life to not go up
Yeah.
to this spiel in the middle of
Did you get
nowhere,
divorced
Ontario.
anyways?
No, not yet.
No,
Yeah.
it's so my family has a summer place up there that became my parents' year-round place. So they live up there on Lake Huron, and that's become their home club. But it's a 48 teams on 4 sheets. It's in Northern Ontario. Yeah, it's just it's a small town Northern Ontario experience. I've always played in it with my dad and other friends. So yeah, that's my favorite. I don't get to it every year. But it's a lot of fun.
So
And great club too.
I'm gonna chime in for a second here. Like it's a great spiel, and it might be what I would consider my favorite Bonspiel too. If I was to answer this question, it's close. I don't know,
Yeah.
but the way that Dean lured me into going to this thing was he was telling a story about his dad, Al, who, when we ended up playing, he was 82, I think.
Yeah.
But so Dean's telling me this story when he's probably 70, the young age of 78.
Yeah.
But how he's playing in a spiel out in Plainfield, and you guys are playing for pins. And the guys at Plainfield and from Ardsley and everywhere else out there that were playing in this spiel with you are just as serious as can be about pins.
I love
And
pins
your
in the East
dad
Coast.
Your dad was just disgusted that people were so excited about pins when he had played in a Bonspiel and won a chainsaw at some point. And I'm like, I want to go to a Bonspiel with your dad, and I want to go to a Bonspiel where I have a chance to win a chainsaw.
Yeah.
Tell me when and where I can do this. And so that's how it happened. It took like 4 or 5 years, but we went, and Al won another chainsaw.
Yeah, and Craig you could have taken the chainsaw, but you took a pressure washer instead.
I took a 2,500 psi pressure washer. It's fantastic. I use it all the time.
Brunt took a chainsaw, and I took a deep fryer that I sold on Facebook.
Nice.
Yeah.
The spiel's great. And so one other thing I'm going to chime in about the Blind River Men's Closing is 4 sheets, 48 teams. And we finished like our second game, and Al says, "Hey, Chad asked us to go over to his place because he's got, they've got food and stuff." I'm like, okay, yeah, sure, we'll go. We had just gotten another beer, and so Al disappears, and he comes back like 30 seconds later. He's got his coat on, and he's ready to go. He's 82 years old, and you don't argue with the guy who's ready to go. And so we were all like, thinking we got to get in the car, we got to go for a drive and get to Chad's house where he's having us over on a special occasion or whatever. We walk out the front door of the club, and we start heading to the car, and Al says, no, this way. I said, the car's over here. I said, no, we're going this way. We walk around the corner of the building, and like literally like the closest house to the curling club. It's like
Right.
50 yards away.
Chad Horton. Yeah.
It's Chad's house, and there's like 30 dudes standing in the driveway having a tailgate party. And his garage is heated, and it had a fridge. It was like open invite for when there wasn't room in the club room at the club because everybody in town shows up.
Yeah.
Just head over to Chad's, and you can just drink there for a while.
If you want a real old-timey bonspiel that's a ton of fun and they treat you well in a small town, it's pretty good.
All right. We already asked you how you started curling.
Yep.
What advice would you give to a new curler? Or somebody just trying to improve their game? They don't have to be brand new.
Yeah, so I'm a big believer. I think nobody who starts in curling or anybody in curling throws enough rocks. So I think you got to try to throw as many rocks as you can, which, is certainly easier when you're a kid. I mean, when I was a kid, I could go and throw 200 rocks. And even, when we were playing in 2012, I would throw not nearly that many, of course. But, yeah, you got to throw a ton of rocks. I think too many people don't realize, especially when they're new to the game, they don't realize you can go to the club and practice, and you should do that. So practice a lot and try to play on with people who are better than you. Always, I managed to do that my whole curling career. So just always play with people who are better than you is a good rule. And I always say I can tell if someone's a good curler just by how they walk up and down the ice. So I think it's curling's like a little bit like baseball, and there's a lot of little things you gotta sort of learn and get right. And if you can, it's a lot of little stuff, and it's hard to soak up, but you got to try to soak in all those little things, and that especially happens when you play with people who are better than you.
Advice on sweeping, maybe?
Yep. Sorry, on sweeping?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, one of the reasons I started doing those clinics was I think that a lot of developing curlers, club level curlers, don't get that insight because they're not around players who are sweeping well. So, and honestly, the biggest reason I focused a lot on trying to be a decent brusher was I'm an average thrower. So I thought if I could be a really good brusher, I could probably end up on some better teams. And, I think in the years we won, I was certainly that. But, yeah, I mean, I think brushing's like part art, part science. But, there's a physicality to it you have to learn. And, you're actually more likely to see people can throw a stone well than people who can brush well, even though I think brushing is actually easier to learn if you put some focus on it. But, you go into a club, you'll see more people with decent deliveries, and you see a lot of bad brushing form, but it's actually easier to become a better brusher than a good thrower of the stone.
That's a good, I like your mention of you can pick out a good player by how they walk up and down the sheet. And I've never thought about that, but I absolutely agree. Like, you can just see somebody and rule them out. Almost,
yeah, right exactly.
Away. You can't necessarily always rule somebody in as being a good curler.
Yes,
but
yes.
you can rule people out.
You can look out and say, "Well, I'm not playing with that guy." Yeah,
yeah.
Look how he walks when the other team is throwing.
Yeah. Okay. So I got here's a surprise question that I did not.
All right, you didn't feed me this one.
It's coming.
All right.
I didn't feed you this, and I didn't. I fed you a couple that you're not going to get, but here's one that you didn't get fed. If you could change one rule, what would it be?
Ooh, one rule in curling. Boy, this is a hard one. This is, what? Part of the problem is I think curling's pretty awesome as it is, but I guess the one rule I'd like to see change now is I think somehow, and even though I was I played lead a lot, I think we got to do something to make the tick harder or less of a factor. I think the ticks become too easy. So I'd like to either see like an area you can't move it out of that's smaller, or maybe if one is in an area between the the house and the hog line that it can't be touched at all. But something. I think the tick is, teams are so good at it, and also realize that you don't actually have to make it perfectly. So, I mean, we used to try to make them perfect, and now you realize if you just move it over, you can move it into the rings. It's better, So, yeah. That's one rule I'd like to see changed or looked at.
Okay. All right. If you could play on a team at any bonspiel, any level, it could be a competitive, it could be a fun spiel. You get to pick the 4 people to play with. They can be curlers or they can be non-curlers.
Oh, wow.
If you can play with 4 people, live or dead, who's it going to be?
So it can be 4 not even curlers. Well,
4?
If it was...
Wait, 4 people, so a 5-man team? You got a drinking member?
Yeah, sure.
Well,
your choice.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
Your choice.
So as much as anytime a team ends, you always look back and remember all the shit. But I look back in the team that I won with, and we actually had a lot more fun than you might have realized in the moment. So I'd love to play with those guys again at some point. But forget about them for a sec. Anybody else I could play with. It doesn't have to be a curler. But I also don't want them to suck.
You're probably going to want at least one other curler on your team.
Yeah, because if you pick somebody who just sucks, that's frustrating, right?
Yeah.
Unless you're going to a charity spiel, which means all bets are off.
True enough, Joel. But
Dylan and Ty haven't said anything. They're professional charity spielers.
Well, we're talking about. I'd still put my old man, my dad, on the team because he's still pretty solid, and I always love playing with my dad. He's 82 and still gets mad if he misses, so he's still
answer.
Good. But who else would I'd throw Obama on the team. I think he could pick it up decently. I think, and I'd enjoy his company. Who else might I pick? Let me think. I need another athlete though that I like.
Need another curler maybe.
Yeah, I got my dad, but I need another curler. Well, I already had my other team, so yeah, I think it'd be good to have you on the ice with me, Craig, to help out. So I'll throw you in there, and then I need some other athlete.
Token
that
mention.
Really like.
That was a token mention.
Token.
Yeah.
I
think maybe Tiger Woods, just because every team needs a bit of a dick on it, and you want a guy like you're sort of mad at all the time, and he'd probably be good pretty quickly. He'd get good, and he'd be a bit annoying. But every team needs a guy like that.
I'm going to say that's the best answer we've gotten for that question so
And
far
he might
on the show.
he might absorb all the annoyance away from you guys.
Yeah.
Exactly.
From being,
Craig was saying how we weren't liked, so maybe now it'd be Tiger. It'd be like everybody thinks
Nobody liked Tiger. Everybody like everybody else.
He'd probably get good in about an afternoon. So
yeah.
Not really, but maybe.
Yeah.
Perfect.
He'd be adequate, probably.
Yeah, he'd be better than a lot of people.
Well, Dean, it has been an absolute pleasure. Story time with Dean has been great. Story time with Dean and Craig, like the two of you, has been that was awesome. I hope everybody who's listening has enjoyed that as much as I know I have, and
I did.
Yeah, the other guys on have. Hey, we normally give you one more thing to mention. You're not playing. You don't have any sponsors, but you want to talk about your books. Can people get your books? Yeah. So the holidays are coming up.
I started doing that in my podcast. I was always trying to get to mention the sponsors. Yeah. Well, the books, Brush Like a Badass, Fit to Curl, they're both available on Amazon, and Escaping Teddy, the flawed novel. You can go to my website, Dean Does Things, deandoesthings.com. If comedy ever we're not doing shows outside, I'll probably start posting shows on there again. But so those two things, Dean Does Things, and the books on Amazon.
Awesome.
Super.
Dean,
if you ever want to like put your 2 minutes of spiel together, and just like do it for us.
Sure.
We'd love to have you.
You know what I honestly, this is something for you Wisco boys out there, but I actually I wanted to put together a curling brushing tour. I was going to do brushing clinics and comedy shows, and I wanted to hit every small town in Wisconsin with
Absolutely.
that, but I could never quite pull it off. But
Dean,
I thought that'd be fun.
We got a comedy club. We got a comedy club in Madison. Joel has 27 guest rooms at his house.
Yeah.
You can stay at Joel's house. You don't even have to.
Club in Madison is one of the best in the country, but I thought every club could do a show as a fundraiser.
Oh, we'll do that.
As a fundraiser.
We'll do that.
We do
We
a
can make that
brushing
happen.
clinic during the day, and I'd bring a headliner with me. So
We'll get a crappy fake brick wall backdrop just for you.
I got a green screen. We can do whatever we want.
Yeah, absolutely.
It was really just an excuse for me to drive around Wisconsin for a couple weeks. But
I'm not sure.
At work, I love it.
I'm not sure your
I am
liver is
gonna
ready,
warn you,
but
though.
yeah.
I am going to warn you though. You don't want to go around calling it Wisco.
Sorry,
Yeah,
did I say Wisco?
no.
What do we say?
Yeah.
What do you guys say?
We just call it Wisconsin.
Yeah,
Some people call
we
it
call it
Scotty,
Wisconsin.
but they're
Yeah.
not.
No.
They're not really from
Yeah.
Wisconsin.
That's
either.
sort of like
Yeah.
saying the Big Apple, right?
Yeah.
It's embarrassing.
Nobody calls
Yeah.
it that. Like
Yeah,
Hot Lana.
I mean,
I called it
yeah,
Hot
like
Lana
calling-
before. Nobody
Yeah.
calls it Hot
People
Lana.
from San
Well,
Francisco
just-
calling it Frisco.
Yeah,
I don't
horrible.
think they do that. So,
Just edit that shit
No.
out, will you, Joel? Can you
No.
just clip that for me?
No.
Yeah.
Nope.
My
Yeah.
credibility out there in
No,
Wisconsin.
no.
Have it on there that we called you out on it.
Now
Yeah.
this tour is
Yeah.
never going to happen.
No, it's
Well,
happening.
now you can redeem yourself and do a
Yes.
supper club tour
Yeah.
around
Yes.
Wisconsin.
Yeah.
There you go.
Like
I mean, I think-
supper clubs are huge in Wisconsin, so like that'd be great.
Yeah.
You can,
Well,
you
you know,
can get a
the-
nice
the-
fish fry.
Yeah.
Get
Just-
some nice
Seriousness,
brandy old
for a
fashions.
for a club, for any comedy show, is you want built-in salespeople. So I just thought you'd have club members could bring some friends to the curling club. We'd do a show
Mm.
during the day. I'd do a clinic. Anyways,
No,
never
I
quite
think that's
came
a
together.
great
It's a
idea.
tricky one to pull off. But
I think that's an absolutely great
if
idea.
you
I
can
don't.
help me with the Wisconsin Mafia,
Yeah.
curling mafia.
Yeah,
Make it
we'll
happen.
get
Well-
it figured out. I'm not sure your liver is ready, but
Yeah.
good luck.
You can bring
luck.
sweeping.
Yeah, well, let's do it.
And your quote unquote comedy.
Yeah.
I can bring bacon, and we'll just make it happen.
Here we go.
Absolutely.
I love it.
perfect.
It's fusion.
Awesome.
All right,
Absolute
guys.
pleasure, Dean. This has been great, man. I really enjoyed
Hey, I
it.
really appreciate you having me on. I enjoyed it.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Dean.
We'll talk to you again.
Take care, guys.
Take care. Good curling. All right. Well, I think we haven't said it enough, but really want to thank Dean Gemmell for coming on. That was awesome. I really enjoyed it. Hopefully you guys did too. A little bit of our curling update. That's it for this week, and the rest of us for the Curling Nation podcast. You can always email the show at curlingnation@curlingnetwork.com. Check us out on Facebook, Twitter. Follow us at Curling Nation. Instagram, we're at The Curling Nation. If you want to give us some money, we're at Curling Nation there. You can listen to us at Apple, Spotify, Google. You can watch us on YouTube because God knows we're good looking, especially with this lip sweater. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. And once again, we're going to thank the Great Dane. Oh, yeah. They got us some good Scotch ale again this week. They'll be back again next episode. They are delicious. If you're in the Madison area, check them out for Mid-Coast Wings. Real good wings. That's it for the Curling Network, or Curling Nation podcast this time. We're out.